Hello Unitarians in Edinburgh, I'm Alistair McIntosh. It's been a long time since I've been with you in person. It was back in Andrew Hill's time, I think, that I last preached to you on a Sunday morning. But here I am again, just as the COP26 conference is opening 1 mile away from where I am speaking to you in Govan, where we live at the moment. So, can I just say that I had the great pleasure in August at your centre in Great Hucklow of spending a weekend with your clergy talking about, or rather leading them in the process of Meeting for Clearness, a Quaker process that is about discernment over difficult life issues. And if you are interested and go on my website, you will find links to 2 such trainings, both online and in person, taking place during COP26 from the Quaker Meeting House. And you can follow those either way. Also, I'm going to be joining some of you again online because the in-person conference side of it in Brighton has been cancelled on the Saturday the 19th of February, when the Unitarians have asked me to lead a session on the pilgrimage of life. Anyway, here we are. You've asked me to do your sermon today. I wasn't sure if Unitarians did sermons, so folks, I've decided to give you a humdinger of a sermon. Let me watch my time there because I've been asked to go for about 10 minutes or thereabouts. So here goes, and our text today will be Genesis 6:11 to 14. Let me just read it to you. Now the earth was corrupt in God's sight and was full of violence. God saw how corrupt the earth had become, for all the people on earth had corrupted their ways. So God said to Noah, I'm going to... Goodness, I'm getting corrupted myself, folks. So God said to Noah, I am going to put an end to all people, for the earth is filled with violence because of them. I am surely going to destroy both them and the earth. And of course, you know what's coming on. What's coming on is the story of Noah's Ark, a story of, you could say, primordial climate change. A story that was probably based in fact, in that sea levels rose by about 120 metres after the last ice age from its peak about 20,000 years ago. So great cities in the Middle East got flooded, and this got handed down in many flood legends. Of course, in the Hebrides, if I can just pull out here Otter Swire's book on the legends of the Hebrides, there are many legends concerning the inundation of the islands, that there would be 3 great floods. The first great flood being the primal inundation when God created the waters and let there be. The second great flood being Noah's Ark, about which I'm going to be speaking. And the third great flood, they said, is that which has yet to come. But when it does, the loved places will be flooded. The churches by the sea will become fishing places where the marled seal and the brown otter will leap and gambol like the children of men at play. And all will be inundated except Iona, the sacred isle of Iona, that will rise like a crown above the waves. So the Hebrides where I was raised are full of flood legends. Noah's Ark ran aground on Mount Uscaval on the Isle of Harris. And we know that this is true, because that's how come we've got the red deer and the blue mountain hare. They got off before Noah managed to refloat the Ark on high tide and carry on to a lesser summit called Mount Ararat. It's also the case that, of course, the Ark was built on the Isle of Lewis. Where else would it be built? I have testimony to that in, where are we? Here we are. The Reverend Norman MacFarlane of Juniper Green, Apostles of the North. And basically, Noah was building the ark and he had to go off and get the animals. So he went up to Ness in the north of Lewis to get a bull, and then he went to Uig in the west to get a ram. And while they were away, the carpenters kept, the carpenters, you know, they were a problem. They kept coming to get their wages from Mrs. Noah. And she kept on saying, come back the next day. Eventually got their wages. They went to Babylon, the town of Stornoway, where they started drinking it away. And they were shouting and singing. Their songs began. By the way, this is a sermon given in my parish, in the parish of Lochs, probably in the 1830s by the Reverend Finlayson. What is his first name again? Robert Finlayson, the Reverend Finlayson, a much loved, I should say, evangelical pastor. So there they were shouting and singing their songs and dancing their drunken dance when, lo, a thunderbolt crashed and the rains poured in torrents, just like Glasgow this past week. The public house was flooded, and a river rushed through it and rose with appalling rapidity. Then did the mocking carpenters cry, but the ark was closed, and Mercy's day had gone. They'd missed their chance, their spiritual chance. Oh, people of Lochs! Oh, Unitarians of Edinburgh! Ha ha ha! I hope the kids are still here for this bit and that you've not sent them out for Sunday school. Let me just do that bit again. Oh, people of Lochs! Oh, Unitarians of Edinburgh. Where's my place? I've lost my place. God's ark stands open for you today, but the day of the closed door is coming. And that's where we are today with climate change, folks. The door of the ark is metaphorically, I'm talking metaphor here. It's open to us today with COP26, but the day of the closed door is coming. There is much for the poor and the hard-pressed, much that is already too late. How's my time going? Another 3 minutes. So where does this leave us? Because I don't believe that the politics and economics and technology being discussed at COP26 are going to be enough to take us there. We're going to have to deepen in our humanity. We're going to have to learn to deal with difficult times ahead. We're going to have to teach our children and our grandchildren to deal with what has come upon us at this time in our human evolution. And so there's one more ark story. I know that, people won't believe these stories unless I prove the truth. So, this is coming from Professor Jackson's wonderful little Penguin classic book, A Celtic Miscellany. It's the third last story in the book. Let me just show you so that you know that it's real. There we are. He's called it the best and the worst nail in the ark. I change it the other way around, the worst and the best nail in the ark. So here's what was happening, folks. And it must be true because it's about the Hebrides. And I'm from there, so you're not going to say it's not true, are you? And this is about a truth, a metaphorical truth, that speaks deeper than the literal words alone. That is why, in our Bibles, whether you want a wee one like that, or a nice big fat one like that, or oh goodness me, or all the commentaries and so on. That is precisely why the Bible and other spiritual traditions, the Sufi tradition of Islam, the Buddhist teaching stories and all the rest of it, they use parables, they use metaphors to take us to a deeper meaning. And so it was that finally, Noah got the ark loaded up for the climate change that was coming upon them. And of course, the way the Bible puts it is that God decided to destroy what was on earth because of the corruption and the violence. But let's read that with some psychological depth. Think of people like Carl Jung. It's not that God decides to destroy the city that is corrupt or the world that is corrupt. It's that we bring that on ourselves with our consumerism, with our violence, our corruption, our violence. This is a way of reaching what people can hear. And so there's the animals finally getting on 2 by 2. But the shipwright who had been ark, now he must have come from Edinburgh or somewhere. He can't possibly have been from the Isle of Lewis, or she, as the case might have been. realized that their name was not on the passenger list, probably because they were way off to Stornoway to drink all the money away or something like that. And out of envy, took a brace and drilled a hole in the bottom of the ark so that once it got floating, it would be sabotaged and sink, and God's plan would be refuted. So there was the animals getting on and nobody else knowing about the hole except the shipwright. And of course the devil is watching and enjoying this mightily and thinking, I'm going to take a trip on that ark and cause some further mischief. So the devil sneaks onto the ark as well and goes and hides down in the bilges in the bottom. But what the devil hadn't reckoned on, because the devil's very clever, I'm talking metaphorically, the devil's very clever, but not clever enough. The devil hadn't reckoned that Noah, before he finally raised the anchor, was going to raise his hand and bless the ark. And you see, while the devil can stand the red-hot fires of hell, he cannot stand the white-hot heat of love. And so the devil's thrashing around. He can't bear the heat of love being brought on him. Notice how it's always a he. We need a bit of gender equality when it comes to the devil, Can't bear it. And finally he sees the fire exit. What is the fire exit? You guessed. The fire exit is that wee hole that the shipwright had drilled. So he turns himself into a snake and he starts wiggling out through the hole and he gets his head out. But in the middle, because he's been eating too much, he's too fat and he gets stuck. And there he remained, his head pointing out and his tail pointing in, until finally the ark grounded on Mount Ararat. And so it is said in the old Irish sermon there from the 16th century, the devil proved to be the worst and the best nail in the ark. And folks, I leave you with the thought, as climate change is coming on us, and you'll be wondering what people of faith and faith groups like the Unitarians can be doing. I leave it to you that part of our calling is to say this is coming on us because this is just where we are at this time in our human, cultural and biological evolution. This is where we're at. This is what's happening. Our task is to take the worst nail in the ark and turn it into the best. Our task is to deepen in our humanity so that all upon the ark that is planet Earth may be blessed. May God, as you understand the divine presence to be with you all. Amen.